Is joy the missing factor for these Dodgers? Well, after the Pirates' frustrating sweep of LA, Miguel Rojas in his post-game interview mentioned, quote, "I feel like ever since we started playing poorly a couple months ago, the pressure and frustration has been building up on the team, and I don't see anybody smiling and having a good time." Even from a viewer's perspective, that's definitely true. You see a lot less celebration, and even when something good happens, like Ohtani's home run a couple days ago, there's a lot less of a cohesiveness to this team, almost like there's a heavy cloud over them, and a lot of the Dodgers community has been talking about how LA has been playing in an uninspired way. There's a spark that's missing from this team. But why? Well, of course, there's fatigue from a long season, but you also have lack of production. Since August 1st, and we're now in September, so for over a month, in that span, the Dodgers have a losing record. And in that span, they haven't taken advantage of facing some of these worse teams that have a sub-500 record. In that span, they're 4-12 against such teams, so they're not making ground against their division and league rivals. Also, you have these frustrations that are now compounded with pressure. External, with expectations for the team going in. People said this was going to be a record-breaking team in terms of how many wins they accrue over the course of a season. And then also internal pressure, knowing they're not doing well and maybe scuffling to figure out what the problem is. Mechanically, mentally, it could be a mix of the two. So, what's the solution? Miguel Rojas also said, quote, "We have to find a way to put everything in perspective." The Dodgers are still 2 games ahead of the Padres for first place in the NL West. They're about 3 games behind the Phillies for that second seed in the National League, so they haven't fallen out of the picture. They're in great position to make the playoffs. Their starting pitching is strong, and they have offensive help coming on the way. Muncy and Edman beginning their rehab assignments. What's step 2? Well, they also have to start playing for each other. Mookie Betts on his podcast recently invited guest pitcher Paul Skeens, and they talked about how earlier in the season, Mookie Betts, it was first inning, Shohei Ohtani got an extra base hit, and Mookie moves him over to third with a sac fly. Going to the dugout, he's pumping his fist, he's celebrating over a sac fly. Why? It wasn't a hit, it wasn't a homer, there was no addition or increase to Mookie Betts' season stats because of this move, but it helped the team get in a position to score a run. And that arguably is more valuable than a player's season statistics. Mookie has even talked about flushing this season's stats down the drain. He knows this is going to be one of his worst seasons, and he's just focusing on helping the team win every single day. That is the kind of mindset that needs to transfer over to every player on this team. Forget the individual stats, help this team win and be dominant heading into the postseason to have a confident mindset and a strong team morale. What would be the result of adopting that mindset? Well, you see less innings like we saw on Wednesday. You had bases loaded, no outs, 2 strikeouts, ultimately 3 outs, no runs pushed across. That is unacceptable for a Dodgers team with this much talent. In contrast, you'll see a lot more of a team-based approach. Much more like we saw in yesterday's game, Thursday, 9th inning. The Dodgers scratched across 3 runs, clawing to get as many guys on base, passing the baton to the next guy, stringing those hits together, and playing like a team. So these Dodgers need to push behind them everything that's happened this year, all the disappointment, put everything in perspective, and going forward, don't focus on individual stats. Play as a team.